When a man hits his late 40s or his 50s, something subtle happens. It's not all at once and it's not dramatic, but it's real. A quiet heaviness starts to settle in. It happened to a man named Mark. He was 54 years old, sitting alone in his garage one Saturday morning. He looked around at the boxes stacked along the walls. Old tools, his kids' toys from years ago, just dusty memories. And he realized something profound. The first half of his life had been full of doing. The second half, well, it had become full of waiting. He was waiting for the weekends, waiting for the holidays, waiting for retirement. He was just waiting for something to feel right again. But as we all know, nothing ever changes when you just wait. And in that quiet garage, Mark finally understood a harsh truth. Truth number one, most men stop growing. They start coasting. Think about it. Mark had spent decades building a career, raising a family, doing everything he was supposed to do. He was a good man, a responsible man. But somewhere along that path, he stopped building himself. He had routines, not dreams. He had responsibilities, but no new goals. He had comfort, but he'd lost his confidence. He didn't fail. He just flattened out. It was like his life story had frozen mid-sentence. And that, right there, is how most men end up wasting the second half of their life. They live the same year over and over and over again, and they call it a life. This brings us to the second hard truth Mark discovered. Truth number two, most men shrink their world until there's nothing left. Mark's life had become incredibly small. It was a predictable loop, from the house to work, maybe a stop at the grocery store, and then right back home. There were no new friends, no sense of adventure, no curiosity left. It was just the slow, steady tightening of a life getting smaller and smaller every single day. And then he realized something brutal. A man doesn't get old when he turns 50. He gets old the moment he stops expanding his world. He gets old when he stops learning, stops exploring, and stops challenging himself. But why does this happen? That leads us to the third and perhaps most painful truth. Truth number three, most men lie to themselves to avoid the pain of facing reality. Mark kept telling himself things. You've probably heard them. Maybe you've even said them yourself. I'm fine. It's too late to start over now. I'm content. I don't need anything more. But those weren't truths. They were shields. They were walls he built around himself to protect him from what he was truly feeling. Because deep down, he was scared. He was scared he'd missed his chance to do something meaningful. He was scared he didn't have what it takes anymore. He was terrified of starting at zero again, of looking like a fool while trying something new. And he was scared of failing. That fear doesn't ruin a man instantly. It's more insidious than that. It's a slow leak. It drains him day by day, year by year, until he's just a shell of the man he once was, or the man he could have been. But for Mark, one day, something snapped. He was at the grocery store, just standing in the checkout line, looking around at the other men his age. Some of them looked empty, some looked completely exhausted. But then he saw one man, maybe 60, maybe older, who looked alive. He had bright eyes. He stood with a strong posture. He carried himself like a man who still had chapters left to write in his story. And for the first time in years, Mark asked himself a question that changed everything. Why can't that be me? That was the moment. That was the moment he stopped wasting time. Because here's the thing. Men don't truly change when they get a little inspired. Men change when they get completely fed up. Fed up with the waiting, fed up with the shrinking, fed up with the lies. So, what did he do? He made 3 shifts, 3 fundamental changes that saved his life. The first shift? He started building again, but this time, it wasn't his career. It wasn't his house. He started building himself. He got serious about his fitness. He didn't just go for a walk, he started training. He enrolled in an online course to learn a new skill he'd always been curious about. He set new goals for himself, small at first, then bigger. He started forging a new identity, one not defined by his past but by his future. A man who invests in himself becomes a man who believes in himself. That belief is the foundation for everything else. The second shift was just as crucial. He chose discomfort over regret. Mark knew that staying in his small, comfortable world was a one-way ticket to regret. So he forced himself into new environments. He joined a local hiking group, even though he didn't know anyone. He signed up for that business course, even though he was the oldest person in the virtual room. He even walked into a boxing gym, feeling awkward and out of place. But you know what? He also felt alive. More alive than he had in a decade. Because the second half of life isn't about staying comfortable. It's about staying awake. It's about feeling the friction of growth and knowing that it's the feeling of life itself. And the third shift he made? He created a future he genuinely wanted. This wasn't about a retirement plan. It wasn't some vague fantasy of sitting on a beach. He created a mission. For him, it was starting a small consulting business to mentor younger people in his industry. It gave him a purpose beyond himself. It gave him a reason to get up in the morning that wasn't just about a paycheck. A man with a mission doesn't age, he evolves. He becomes timeless because his focus is on the impact he's making, not the years he's accumulating. Mark didn't reinvent his life overnight. It wasn't a movie montage. It was a slow, deliberate, and sometimes difficult process. But he stopped wasting his life the very moment he realized one final, powerful thing. The second half of your life doesn't care how the first half went. It doesn't care about your past successes or your past failures. It only cares about who you choose to become right now, today. Most men waste their second half by waiting for something to happen. But the men who win it, the men who live it fully, they stop waiting and they start building again. They build their bodies, they build their minds, and they build a future that excites them. Your story is far from over. In fact, the most exciting chapters might be ahead of you. But they won't write themselves. You have to pick up the pen. Thanks for watching. If this resonated with you, hit that like button and subscribe for more. Let me know in the comments, what is one thing you can start building today?